When you hear the word animation, what's the very first thing that comes into your mind? Maybe it's this, or this, or this, or God forbid. All types of animation exist in the film and television medium, and all of them have their own artistic merit, whether it's hand-drawn or computer animation, or maybe even a mix of both. Or on some rare occasions, brave souls make stop motion, which honestly, I don't know how people make that. I don't know how people have the patience for that. It truly blows my mind. In animation, more so than traditional filmmaking, it's the animation studio's job to transport us to a fresh new world that could never be possible in real life. Obviously, there's no right way to do animation, and that's only what I think good animation should do. Everybody has their own standards, obviously. But I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that the folks at Studio Ghibli are some of the best when it comes to this art form in general. They've made classics like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and so many more. But what is it that sets Studio Ghibli apart from the other animation studios in the business? It's the fact that Studio Ghibli uses animation to its fullest potential. Animation is different from other forms of film in that the creative barriers are almost completely removed. In traditional filmmaking, you have to worry about pulling off whatever crazy vision is in your head, and not even in terms of budget, but in terms of practicality. Most modern blockbusters that have these crazy visions have to use CGI to make things that would be very hard to pull off practically, or might even be impossible. And because of that, the budgets of these films skyrocket, and of course, no disrespect to the visual effects department of these large-scale films, I imagine it takes a lot of work to create these massive set pieces. But let's play the compare game for a second. Let's look at a movie that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. It made a little bit of money. It's called Avengers Endgame. Now, I love this stuff as much as the next guy. I grew up with these films, these characters, these stories, but from a visual standpoint, everything looks so dour and gray. Sure, the things happening on the screen are actually pretty cool and turn me into a kid every single time I watch it, but every single time I watch it, I get pulled out of the movie due to the distasteful visuals. It really ruins the immersion factor, in my opinion. Seeing CGI and practical effects blend with this bland color palette is really disgusting to look at, and you want to know how much this costs to make? $356 million US. That's a lot, to put it plainly. Hey, you know what? Let's look at another movie that was big last year. Joker. Now visually, there really isn't anything wrong here. Every shot is beautiful, but more importantly, it's purposeful. It's used as a way to get into Arthur's head. It's also nice that this movie is about 95% practical. When CGI is used, it's used for little things in the background that you probably wouldn't even notice unless you watch the special features. With the movie being mostly practical, visually you're never pulled out of the film from an immersion standpoint. You never see a big, crazy CGI space monster and other things mixed in with what's supposed to be the real world, and that makes sense for the story Joker's trying to tell, a very grounded, real-world look at a mentally disturbed man in a city on the brink of collapse. The budget for this one was estimated around $62.5 million US, which, believe it or not, is on the lower end of the comic book movie budget spectrum. God, that's such a long thing. I should give it an acronym. What would that be? The CBMBS? Nobody's gonna say that. Now let's look at Spirited Away, which is arguably Ghibli's magnum opus. Every single scene is packed to the brim with creativity and mystery. Direction, cinematography, writing, and story all work together to bring a movie that is childlike imagination in its purest form. Everything is animated with such care, detail, and depth. It feels dreamlike, clearly something that would never exist in the real world, yet we are fully immersed in this crazy universe filled with what only I can call Ghibli charm. And this is what no other animation studio has been able to accomplish, in my opinion. No other studio has been able to capture pure, immersive, youthful wonder. Ghibli aren't afraid to go nuts with their style. They aren't afraid to tell mature stories with mature themes that can resonate with any age. So many other animation studios talk down to their audience as if they need to have everything explained in the most basic of ways, or they use cheap fart joke level humor to engage younger audiences. But not Ghibli. So many other animation studios ground themselves in reality so much to where it can get stale on repeated viewings. Compare this to Ghibli, where you can look in the background of nearly every gorgeous shot and find something new to gush about. Sure, Toy Story, Up, Finding Nemo are all great and special in their own way, but none of these movies really go for it when it comes to unfiltered imagination, in my opinion. Except Ghibli. And this isn't just the case for Spirited Away, it's like this for their entire filmography, and sure, certain films are better than others, but each one has all the qualities I've stated previously, yet feel entirely unique to each other. Spirited Away is a movie about independence, being able to rely on yourself to complete the goals you want, while not taking those around you for granted. Budget is an estimated $17.6 million US. My Neighbor Totoro is a wholesome tale filled with so much heart and is ultimately about family. Budget, estimated $3.7 million US. Do you see where I'm going with this? Princess Mononoke is an action film about the importance of nature in our world and is a great portrayal of the classic man versus nature story. Budget, estimated $22.2 million US. All these movies are made on much lower budgets, yet completely outclass most modern blockbusters in one key thing: vision.